The more we get together, 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 the more we get together, the happier we'll be. Because your friends are my friends and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. The more we get together, 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 the more we get together, the happier we'll be. There's Sebastian and Kaylee and Leah and Jarvis. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. Good job. Are you ready for a rhyme today? Remember, rhyming is when things sound the same. And sometimes rhymes are so fun to say. We're going to start today with a fun rhyme. Listen to the beginning part, okay? Riddle-dee-dee, riddle-dee-dee. Can you say a rhyme with me? I say cat. You say hat. Cat. Good job. Did you say hat? I heard some of you say hat. We're going to do it again. Ready? We've got my words on the board. These are my rhyming words. See, we did cat, hat. Let's see which one's next. Ready? Riddle-dee-dee, riddle-dee-dee. Can you say a rhyme with me? I say ball. You say fall. Ball. Did you say fall? Good job. Riddle-dee-dee, riddle-dee-dee. Can you say a rhyme with me? I say dog. You say log. Dog. Good job saying log. Dog, log. They rhyme. Riddle-dee-dee, riddle-dee-dee. Can you say a rhyme with me? I say fox. You say box. Fox. Good job. Did you say box? Fox and box both have the ox sound. That is a fun game that you can play all the time. Sometimes car rides get really boring and there's nothing to do in the car. And instead of being bored and getting in arguments with your little brother or sister, I know sometimes that happens in my car with my kids. Instead of arguing in the car, you could say that game. You guys could practice your rhyming words. Or if you're waiting, like at the doctor or the dentist when you have to wait a really long time, you could practice rhyming by saying riddle-dee-dee, riddle-dee-dee, can you say a rhyme with me? And one of you can think of the first word, and then the other person can think of the second word. Like, I have a head and I sleep in a bed. That's right, head, bed, because they sound the same at the end. So that's a good game to practice with a grown-up at home. Good job. All right, I brought some tools today. See if you know what any of my tools are. Do you know what this tool is? Some of you do. This is called a ruler. It's a ruler. And I brought another tool today. See if you know what this tool is. Yeah. Some of you are thinking. It's called a measuring tape. Good job. What do I do with these two tools? What are these two tools for? Measuring things. Good job. Some of you have used these before. They're for measuring. We're going to practice measuring today. Okay, so I brought some things to measure. I brought a toy car to measure. I brought our Calm Down bottle that we made a couple weeks ago. And I brought a rhythm stick. Remember from my musical instruments? This one's called a rhythm stick. And I have one more thing that I brought to measure. I brought Goldilocks and the Three Bears because we're going to read it again today. So we'll measure that too. All right, so I'm going to turn you around to measure my things, okay? And we have to decide which measuring tool we want to use. We'll use both of them and we'll see what happens, okay? But we'll use different ones for different things. All right, you ready to be turned around? All right, here's all my things that I brought to measure today. Okay, and here's my measuring tools. Let's see, I think we should start with the car. It looks like it's gonna be the littlest. So let's start with the car. Let's see how we measure. I'm gonna take my car, we'll put it right here so it's easier to see. And I'm gonna take my ruler and put it right at the end of my car. And we're gonna see how many inches. This side is inches. This side is littler. It measures in centimeters, and you could measure that way too. But we're gonna measure in inches right now. So I'm gonna see how many inches long my car is. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. My car is 5 inches long. Do you see that number 5? Yeah, that's how long my car is from the beginning of the ruler, and it goes to the number 5 at the back of the car. Good job. All right, let's see if we can measure something else. All right, we'll leave my ruler here. Let's try our calm down bottle. Let's try that next. And I think it's going to be easier if we put it on its side. So we're going to line it up here at the bottom of my ruler, and we're going to see how many inches long it is. So 1, are you counting with me? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches. It stops right above the 9. It doesn't quite go to the 10. So our calm down bottle is 9 inches. Our car was 5. Our calm down bottle is 9. Now let's look at this because I think we're going to have a problem with this. Oh no. Does anybody see what my problem is? What's the problem here? Uh-oh. That's right. It's longer than my ruler. So, how could I measure that? Well, I could say my ruler is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I'm going to scoop my ruler down. I need another set of hands. This is hard to do while I hold my phone. We were right here. I would normally have put my finger right there and kept my place. 12, 1 more inch. What comes after 12? That's a tricky thing. That's like a kindergarten thing. 13 is what comes next. Ooh, some of you were very smart and got that. That is a tricky thing, and if you haven't learned that yet, that is okay to not know what comes after 12. So my rhythm stick is 13 inches long. Do I have another tool that might have been a better thing to use for my rhythm stick? Do you see another tool on my table? Yeah, my measuring tape. Let's see what my measuring... All right, to use my measuring tape, we're going to have to stretch it out like this. Okay, that's how you use a measuring tape. And then my measuring tape has a little button on top that holds it out. So we know that rhythm stick is pretty big. So I'm gonna put out some of my measuring tape and I'm gonna push my button down so it doesn't go in. Okay, see how my measuring tape has numbers on it? Whoops, that's upside down. Just like the ruler did. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're gonna see if I have my rhythm stick, how long my rhythm stick is. It comes all the way down. Ooh, we might have measured wrong when we tried to do it with my ruler. That's because Mrs. Hall didn't have extra hands. Look how far that goes. Do you know what number that is? That's a pretty big number. It's a 1 and a 4. That says 14. Good job. 14. So my rhythm stick is really 14 inches long. Good job. All right, we've got one more thing to measure. We're going to measure our book. And since we already have out our measuring tape, let's measure with the measuring tape again. Let's see how tall my book is. So I'm going to put it down here at the bottom of my book. See, I'm going to make it a little smaller because it doesn't need to be quite that big. And put it down here at the bottom, and let's see what the top gets. Ooh, it's really close to that number right there. What number is that? It comes right after 10. Here's my 10. 11. Good job. 11. Now what would happen if I didn't have a measuring tape and I didn't have a ruler? Could I just say, I can't measure today, and be sad? No, I can think of other ways to measure. Let me show you another tool that I have for measuring. I have my counting bears. We looked at these bears yesterday because we looked at small, medium, and large. But today, I'm just going to use my large bears, and I'm going to use those to measure my book. What? How are you going to do that, Mrs. Hall? Well, let me show you. Okay, so I would take my counting bears, and I'm just picking my large ones, and I would make a counting bear tower on my book. And I'm just going to keep going until I get all the way to the top of my book. Almost there. One more big bear. Ooh, all right. My bears are measuring my book. Are you ready to count and see how many bears big it is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My book is 8 bears big. Good job. Now I've got something else because you might say, but Mrs. Hall, I don't have bears at my house. Well, that's okay. You can use any toy. Look, I've got a bin of toy cars. Could I measure my book with toy cars? Sure I could. I could see how many toy cars tall my book is. How many? Can you count with me? 1, 2, 3. It's a little bit bigger than 3, but I don't think I can fit another car. So I could use toy cars too. I could use my blocks. I could use balls. I could even see if some people will help me, and we could measure with our hands and do one hand and then the next person's hand and the next person's hand. And you could see how many hands big your book is. Yeah, so I want you to find something to measure today. Find something that you can measure. And you can use measuring tools. Maybe your dad or your mom has a measuring tape, or maybe you have a ruler at home with your art supplies. Or maybe you want to measure with your toys or your hands. Or I've even measured with my feet before. When I want to see if a piece of furniture will fit on a wall, sometimes I measure with my feet. And I walk and see how many footsteps it takes. So you can measure that way too. So many different ways to measure. All right, we're going to reread Goldilocks, the book we read yesterday. And why do we do that? This is kind of for moms and dads. We read books lots of times here at Valeska at preschool because kids like to hear the same books over and over. Lots of times it makes them able to follow along better and to help me read the book. So since you've already heard Goldilocks, I want you to try to help me read it today, especially when I get to that part where it says, should Goldilocks do it? She shouldn't have, but she did. Remember the repeating line where it keeps saying, but she did. See if you can help me with that part today in the story. All right, boys and girls, I'm going to read, and then I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, retold by Bonnie Dobkin, illustrated by Rajesh Tanwar. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once there was a little girl with a bright and happy smile and long curly blonde hair. Everyone called her Goldilocks. Goldilocks lived in a cottage, remember, a small house, by the edge of the woods. Always curious, she wondered what was in those woods. "May I go for a walk in the forest?" she asked her parents one day. "No," said her mother, "the woods are too big. You might lose your way." "No," said her father, "the woods can be dangerous. You might get hurt." "Promise us you won't go into the woods," her parents said together. "I promise," sighed Goldilocks. One day, though, the sun was shining, the air felt fresh and cool, and the branches of the trees seemed to be waving at her. Goldilocks thought about her promise. "I probably shouldn't go into the woods," she said. But she did. Good job saying it with me. Now, deep in the woods, there was another, what was that called? Cottage. Good job. And in this cottage lived 3 bears. Papa Bear was a great big bear with a great big voice, and he liked to fix things around the house, and he loved to cook. Mama Bear was a medium-sized bear with a soft, sweet voice. She liked to work in the yard, and she loved to sing. And Baby Bear was a very small bear with a thin, squeaky voice. He liked to do whatever his parents were doing. One morning, Papa Bear made a big pot of delicious porridge. He filled 3 bowls to the very top. First, he filled a great big bowl. Then he filled a medium-sized bowl. And finally, he filled a very small bowl with pictures of honeybees on it. "The porridge looks wonderful," said Mama Bear. "The porridge smells wonderful," said Baby Bear. "The porridge is wonderful," said Papa Bear. "Eat it up." "Yow!" cried Baby Bear. "This porridge is too hot." "He's right," said Mama Bear, looking at Papa. "Well then," said Papa Bear, "why don't we go for a walk until the porridge cools?" "Hooray!" said Baby Bear, fanning his tongue, and off they set into the woods. Just as the bears left for their walk, someone came running out of the forest. Do you remember who it was? That's right, it was Goldilocks. "Why didn't I listen to my parents?" she said. "Now I'm lost. I don't know which way to go." Then Goldilocks saw the cottage. Always curious, she wondered who lived there. She knocked on the door. "Hello?" she said. "Is anyone home?" Of course no one was. As she kept knocking, the door swung open. "I probably shouldn't go inside," she said. But she did. The first thing that Goldilocks saw was a cozy living room. In it was a fireplace and 3 chairs made of wood. One was a great big chair with a tall back and thick arms. One was a medium-sized chair. It glowed in the light and had soft, fluffy cushions. And one was a very small chair with butterflies painted on it. Goldilocks suddenly realized that her feet hurt. "This isn't my house," she said. "I probably shouldn't sit in those chairs." But she did. Oh, do you remember what happened? That's right. First, she sat in the great big chair. The scratchy wood left splinters in her bottom. "Ouch," she said. "This chair is too rough." Next, Goldilocks sat in the medium-sized chair. The chair was so slippery she slid right off. "Whoops," she said. "This chair is too smooth." Finally, she sat in the very small chair. "Ah," sighed Goldilocks. "This one is just right." Crash! The chair broke all to pieces. "Oh no," said Goldilocks. "Look what I've done. I have to leave." But then she smelled a wonderful smell. Always curious, she followed the smell to the doorway of the kitchen. On the table in the kitchen, Goldilocks saw 3 bowls. The wonderful smell was coming from them. Suddenly, Goldilocks realized she was very hungry. I probably shouldn't taste what's in those bowls, said Goldilocks. But she did. Good job saying that part with me. First, she tasted the great big bowl. Ow, she cried, this porridge is too hot. Next, she tried the medium-sized bowl. Ew, she said, this porridge is too cold. Finally, she tasted the porridge in the very small bowl. It wasn't too hot and it wasn't too cold. Yum, said Goldilocks, this porridge is just right, and she ate it all up. Now, Goldilocks saw a stairway leading up to another floor of the cottage. Always curious, she wondered what was at the top of those stairs. I probably shouldn't go up there, she said. But she did. At the top of the stairs, Goldilocks saw 3 beds. One was a great big bed that was painted blue. One was a medium-sized bed that was painted red. And one was a very small bed with a blue and red frame. Suddenly, Goldilocks realized she was feeling very sleepy. I probably shouldn't try those beds, she said. What happens next? Say it with me. But she did. First, she tried the great big bed. Her head went down with a thunk. Irk, she said, this bed is too hard. Next, she tried the medium-sized bed. This time, she almost disappeared. She could barely breathe. Oomph, said Goldilocks, this bed is too soft. Finally, she tried the very small bed. It wasn't too hard and it wasn't too soft. Ah, said Goldilocks, this bed is just right. And she snuggled under the covers and fell fast asleep. A little while later, the 3 bears returned from their walk. They stopped in surprise when they saw the open door. Oh no, said Mama Bear, someone has been in our house. Be careful, said Papa Bear, that someone could still be in there. The 3 bears tiptoed into the living room. Someone's been sitting in my chair, grumbled Papa. Someone's been sitting in my chair, gasped Mama. Someone's been sitting in my chair, squeaked Baby Bear, and that someone broke it all to pieces. They hurried into the kitchen. Someone's been eating my porridge, roared Papa. Someone's been eating my porridge, cried Mama. Someone's been eating my porridge, squeaked Baby Bear, and that someone ate it all up. Now the 3 bears rushed up the stairs. Someone's been sleeping in my bed, growled Papa. Someone's been sleeping in my bed, whispered Mama Bear. Someone's been sleeping in my bed, squeaked Baby Bear, and that someone is still there. Mama and Papa rushed over next to Baby Bear. They looked at Goldilocks. Then they looked at each other. Papa Bear let out a great big roar. Goldilocks woke up. First, she saw a very small bear with big white eyes. Next, she saw a medium-sized bear with a worried frown. Then she saw a great big bear with great big teeth and great big claws. Goldilocks shrieked. Goldilocks jumped out of bed, rushed across the bedroom, leapt down the stairs, ran through the kitchen, raced across the living room, and burst out the doors. She ran and ran and ran until she saw her own cottage through the trees at the edge of the forest. Her mother and father were standing in the doorway. Goldilocks ran up to them. "We've been so worried," they cried, giving her a hug. "I'm sorry," said Goldilocks. "I should have listened to you. But at least you're safe," said her father. "Come in the house. I'll make you something to eat." The next day, Goldilocks sat out on the front steps again. She could see the forest. The trees seemed to smile at her. I probably shouldn't ever go in the woods again, she told herself. But